What would you
Elena,
do if
you
you
are the
caught your
light of my
husband
life.
proposing to another
Will you
woman
marry me?
while you were
Promise,
still
Daniel,
married to him?
yes. Yes, I
Now
will.
imagine something even worse. Imagine being kicked out of your own home by police officers. Imagine your children crying as you are escorted out the door. Imagine sleeping in your car with $47 to your name while your husband tells
marriage
everyone you are
certificate.
crazy. Imagine your
How
own
is this
mother
possible?
choosing him over
I told
you.
you I could find it.
This is the story of Elena Marshall.
Daniel Marshall,
a
you're
woman
under
who had
arrest.
everything.
You have the right to remain
a beautiful
silent.
home, two
Can't
children
believe it. He seems
she
so
adored,
respected.
a marriage she thought was real, until the day she discovered it was all a lie. But here's what her husband did not
Perfect,
expect.
just like you.
He thought he was destroying her. Instead, he created a monster. A woman with nothing left to lose. A woman who would burn his entire empire to the ground. And 6 months later, she walked into a restaurant and watched a billionaire put a ring on her finger, while her ex-husband watched from across the room. This is not a fairy tale. This is a war story. And it is about to change how you see everything. What if the worst night of your life became the first night of your real life? Picture this. A woman sits alone at a corner table in an upscale San Francisco restaurant. She is wearing a dress she bought at Goodwill and altered herself. Her hands are shaking as she waits. Across the room, her ex-husband walks in with a stunning 26-year-old woman on his arm. He is laughing, confident, wearing a watch that costs more than her entire wardrobe. He does not see her yet, but she sees him. And she sees who walks in behind her, a silver-haired man who sits across from her and says words that change everything. I have been waiting my whole life to meet someone like you. And then he pulls out a ring. But this moment, this perfect, impossible moment, it almost never happened. Because 6 months ago, Elena Marshall was sleeping in her car with $47 in her bank account, and a husband who had just accused her of being an unfit mother. This is the story of how she lost everything, and then burned it all down to build something better. 6 months earlier, the kitchen smelled like coffee and obligation. Elena Marshall stood at the counter at 5:45 in the morning, packing lunches for her 2 children while simultaneously preparing her husband's breakfast, ironing his shirt, and reviewing his calendar for the day. This was her life, a symphony of service performed before the sun came up. Her daughter Sophie was 14, quiet, observant. The kind of teenager who watched everything and said little. Elena sometimes caught Sophie staring at her with an expression she could not quite read. Pity, maybe, or something worse. Her son Lucas was 8, energetic and sensitive, with his father's smile and his mother's heart. He still believed his parents were happy. Elena worked hard to maintain that illusion. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from her best friend, Maggie Brennan. Reminder, wine night tomorrow. Bring your complaints and your tolerance for my divorce horror stories. Elena smiled. It was the first genuine smile of her day. She typed back quickly. Can't, Daniel has a work dinner. Need to be home with kids. Maggie's reply came instantly. You know you are allowed to hire babysitters, right? They are legal in California. Elena almost laughed. Almost. But then she heard footsteps on the stairs, and her body automatically tensed. Daniel Marshall came into the kitchen wearing an expensive suit that cost more than her monthly grocery budget. He was 42 years old, with the confident bearing of a man who believed the world owed him success. He kissed Elena on the cheek. It was perfunctory, like checking a box on a to-do list. He glanced at his breakfast and sighed. Eggs again? You know I am trying to cut carbs. Elena kept her voice neutral. Eggs do not have carbs, Daniel. He was already scrolling through his phone. Whatever. I have that Tokyo deal closing today. Do not wait up. He did not say goodbye to the children. He did not notice Sophie, watching from the stairs, her eyes cold with something that looked like hatred. After his car pulled out of the driveway, Sophie came into the kitchen. "Mom, why do you let him talk to you like that?" Elena forced cheerfulness into her voice. "Like what, honey? He's just stressed about work." Sophie did not answer. She was 14. She saw everything. Here is something Elena did not understand yet, something that took her months to learn. When you make yourself small to keep someone else comfortable, you do not disappear. You just stop existing to yourself. If you are listening to this and you feel invisible in your own home, hear this truth. Your comfort matters. Your dreams matter. And anyone who makes you feel like they do not, they are not protecting you. They are erasing you. Elena had a master's degree in architecture from UC Berkeley. She had graduated top of her class. 15 years ago, she had job offers from 3 major firms. But Daniel convinced her to wait, just until he established his career at the investment firm, just until the kids were in school, just until. Now she was 38 years old, her license had lapsed, and her resume had a 14-year gap that screamed unemployable. She had become exactly what Daniel needed her to be: small, convenient, invisible. 2 weeks later, Elena was doing laundry when she found it. A receipt in Daniel's jacket pocket. The Rosewood Hotel. $847. One night. Her hands went cold. The Rosewood was 15 minutes from their house. Daniel told her he was in Los Angeles that night. She stood frozen in the laundry room, the receipt trembling in her fingers. Part of her wanted to crumple it up, throw it away, pretend she never saw it. That is what the old Elena would do. Instead, she took a photo with her phone. Then she put the receipt back exactly where she found it. That night, after the kids were asleep, she called Maggie. "I need you to tell me I am being paranoid." Maggie's voice was careful. "Tell me what you found." Elena told her everything. The receipt, the late nights that had become routine, the way Daniel looked through her now instead of at her. Maggie was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was deadly serious. "Elena, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Before you do anything, before you confront him, before you even hint that you suspect, you need to protect yourself. Do you have access to your financial accounts?" Elena's stomach dropped. Daniel handles all the money. He gives me a household allowance." The silence on the phone was deafening. "Elena, get copies of everything. Bank statements, investment accounts, tax returns. Do it quietly. Do it now. Do you understand? You are scaring me, Maggie." "Good, because what I have seen in my courtroom would terrify you." When men like Daniel decide to leave, they do not just walk out the door. They burn the house down first. Over the next month, Elena became a spy in her own home. She learned how to access bank statements online. She photographed tax returns from Daniel's home office. She documented every suspicious charge, every unexplained absence, every lie that did not quite add up. What she discovered made her blood run cold. Daniel had opened a separate bank account 6 months ago. He had been transferring $15,000 a month into it. He had taken out a $200,000 loan against their house without telling her. His business trips always coincided with spa charges and restaurant bills for 2. She had proof. She was ready to confront him. But Daniel struck first. Elena came home from grocery shopping on a Tuesday afternoon to find Daniel sitting at the kitchen table. He was not alone. A woman in a sharp suit sat beside him. Victoria Sinclair, 45 years old, with the cold eyes of a predator. Elena would later learn she was one of the most ruthless family law attorneys in the Bay Area. 2 uniformed police officers stood by the door. Elena's grocery bags slipped from her hands. Oranges rolled across the floor. Daniel's voice was cold and rehearsed. "Elena, I am sorry it had to be this way, but I am filing for divorce. And given your instability, I will be seeking full custody of Sophie and Lucas. Elena could not breathe. My instability? Daniel, what are you talking about? Victoria Sinclair slid papers across the table. Mrs. Marshall, your husband has documented a pattern of erratic behavior, emotional volatility, and neglect of your children's needs. We also have evidence of your prescription medication use. That is Lexapro for anxiety that my doctor prescribed, Victoria continued, as if Elena had not spoken, which, combined with the testimony we have gathered, paints a concerning picture of your fitness as a parent. Daniel stood up, straightening his cuffs with the casual arrogance of a man who had already won. The children will be staying with me. You have 30 minutes to pack a bag. The officers are here to ensure you do not take anything that does not belong to you. Elena felt the room spinning. You cannot do this. This is my home. These are my children. Daniel's eyes were dead, empty of anything that had ever resembled love. It is my name on the mortgage, Elena, my money that paid for it. And according to my attorney, you have no legal right to be here. I filed a temporary restraining order this morning. Apparently, you threatened me last week. I never threatened you, Daniel shrugged. There are witnesses. Elena was allowed to pack one suitcase. Her hands would not stop shaking. She could not cry. The tears were locked somewhere deep inside her, frozen by shock. Sophie ran downstairs when she heard the commotion. Mom? Mom, what is happening? Elena tried to hug her daughter, but one of the officers stepped between them. Daniel's voice was smooth, paternal, utterly false. Sophie, sweetheart, Mommy needs to go away for a while. She is not well, but I am here. I will take care of you. Sophie looked at her father with an expression that could freeze fire. You are lying. Daniel's performance faltered for just a moment. Sophie, I know this is confusing. I heard you on the phone last week. With her, I heard what you said about Mom. Something ugly flickered in Daniel's eyes. Then his mask snapped back into place. He turned to the officers. My daughter is clearly distressed. Mrs. Marshall, please leave. You are upsetting the children. Lucas appeared at the top of the stairs, crying. Mommy, where are you going? Elena knelt down, her heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. Baby, I have to go away for a little bit. But I promise, I will come back for you. Do you understand? Mommy always keeps her promises. She was escorted out of her own home. The door closed behind her. Elena sat in her car outside the house for 3 hours. She had nowhere to go. Her parents lived in Oregon. Her friends were all couples friends, people who socialized with both her and Daniel. She had no money except the $200 in her checking account. She had nothing. Finally, she called Maggie. Her best friend answered on the first ring. Elena? What is wrong? Elena told her. The words came out broken, jagged, barely coherent. Maggie's voice turned to steel. I am on my way. Do not move. Do not talk to anyone. And whatever you do, do not contact Daniel. Maggie arrived 40 minutes later. She took Elena to her apartment, made her tea, and listened to the whole story. Then Maggie said something that planted the first seed of hope. Okay, this is bad, but it is not over. I have seen this before, and I have beaten it before. Victoria Sinclair is a shark, but she is sloppy, and Daniel made a mistake. Elena looked up. What mistake? He showed his hand too early. He is arrogant. He thinks you are too weak to fight back. That is going to be his downfall. Over the next 2 weeks, Maggie helped Elena file a response to the divorce petition. They challenged the restraining order, but the judge denied their motion. The witnesses Daniel produced were his colleagues from work, all of them willing to lie under oath. But there were small victories too. Elena got supervised visitation with her children. 2 hours, twice a week, at a court-appointed facility. Sophie passed Elena a note during one of those visits. "We know the truth, Mom. Fight." Elena found a job as a receptionist at a small architectural firm. Minimum wage, but it was something, and Maggie kept digging. The night before the custody hearing, Maggie called with news that made Elena cry with relief. "Elena, I found something." Daniel's girlfriend. She is not just some random woman. She is Jessica Hartwell. She works at his firm, and she has been helping him hide assets. I have proof. Wire transfers, offshore accounts, the whole thing. So we can win. We can actually win. I think we can. The judge is going to see exactly who Daniel Marshall really is. For the first time in weeks, Elena slept soundly. But the next morning, everything fell apart. Elena arrived at the courthouse with Maggie. She was nervous, but hopeful. Then Maggie got a phone call. Her face went white. "Elena, there is a problem." "What? What problem?" "The evidence. The financial documents. Someone broke into my office last night. My computer was wiped. The physical files are gone. All of it." Elena grabbed the wall to stay upright. "That is not possible. We had backups. The cloud backup was deleted too. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were looking for." In the courtroom, without the financial evidence, they had nothing. Daniel's team destroyed them. The judge, who Elena later learned was a golfing buddy of Daniel's boss, granted Daniel primary custody. Elena got supervised visitation. 2 hours every other weekend. Outside the courthouse, Daniel approached her. Jessica Hartwell waited by his car, smirking. Daniel's voice was quiet, vicious. "I told you, Elena, you were never going to win. You are nothing without me. You always were." He walked away. Elena stood alone on the courthouse steps as it began to rain. This was the moment she truly broke. Not when she was kicked out of her home, not when she lost her savings, but when she lost her children. She stood in the rain and wondered if she would survive this. 2 weeks after the custody hearing, Elena Marshall learned what it truly meant to have nothing. It started with a phone call. Her boss at the architectural firm, a kind man named Richard, who had taken a chance on hiring her, called her into his office on a Wednesday morning. "Elena, I do not know how to say this." His face was pale, pained. "I got a call yesterday from your ex-husband." Elena's blood turned to ice. He said, he expressed concerns about your mental state. He said you have been struggling with addiction, that you have been erratic, that you might be a danger to the office. "None of that is true," Elena's voice cracked. "Richard, you know me. You have seen my work. I am not. I know." Richard held up his hand. "I know. But he also called our biggest client, the Peterson account. They are threatening to pull their business if we keep you on staff." Elena felt the floor drop out from under her. "My hands are tied, Elena. I am so sorry. I will give you the best reference I can. But I cannot—" He trailed off, unable to meet her eyes. She walked out of the office in a daze. Her final paycheck was for $312. That night, she counted her money. Her checking account had $1,847. Her credit cards were maxed out. Daniel had canceled the joint cards months ago. The motel cost $75 a night. That gave her 24 days before she was on the street. She did the math over and over, hoping the numbers would change. They never did. On the 23rd day, Elena packed her suitcase into the trunk of her Honda CR-V and drove out of the motel parking lot for the last time. She had $47 left. She spent 12 of it on a sleeping bag at Target, 5 more on a flashlight and some granola bars. The rest she kept in cash, hidden in her sock because she had read somewhere that homeless people get robbed. Homeless. The word felt foreign. Impossible. She had a master's degree. She had owned a home. She had hosted dinner parties and driven carpool and volunteered at the school library, and now she was sleeping in her car. The first night was the hardest. She parked behind a 24-hour gym in a corner of the lot where the security cameras did not reach. She reclined the passenger seat as far as it would go and wrapped herself in the sleeping bag. The sounds were different: cars passing, distant voices, a dog barking somewhere. Every noise made her flinch. She did not sleep. She just lay there, staring at the ceiling of her car, wondering how her life had come to this. At 3:17 in the morning, she pulled out her phone and scrolled through photos of her children. Sophie at her 8th grade graduation, Lucas blowing out birthday candles, the three of them at Disneyland, before everything fell apart. She started crying and could not stop. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sophie on the secret phone. "Mom, are you awake?" Elena wiped her eyes and typed back. "Yes, baby. Why are you up so late?" "I had a nightmare." Dad was yelling at Jessica again. Lucas wet the bed. Dad got really mad. Elena's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. "Is Lucas okay? He is sleeping in my room now. I told him it was okay, that lots of kids have accidents when they are stressed." "Is that true?" Elena typed through her tears. "Yes, sweetheart. That is absolutely true. You are such a good big sister. Mom, where are you really sleeping?" Elena stared at the question for a long time. She could not tell her daughter the truth, could not burden a 14-year-old with the knowledge that her mother was homeless. "I am staying with a friend. I am safe. Do not worry about me. Okay? I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. More than anything in the world, try to get some sleep." She put down the phone and sobbed into her sleeping bag until the sun came up. The days developed a rhythm. She woke at 5:30 before anyone could notice her car. She drove to the gym and used her membership to shower. She had paid for a year up front, back when she still had money, and she guarded that membership like it was gold, because it was. It was the only thing standing between her and smelling like she lived in her car. She spent the days at the library, using the free Wi-Fi to search for jobs, applying to everything: receptionist positions, data entry, retail, fast food. No one called her back. She learned later that Daniel had been busy. He had contacted every architectural firm in the Bay Area, spreading rumors about her instability. He had posted on industry forums, under fake names, warning people not to hire her. He was not just trying to win the divorce. He was trying to erase her from existence. One afternoon, she was sitting in the library when a woman sat down next to her, older, maybe 60, with kind eyes and weathered hands. The woman looked at Elena for a long moment. "How long have you been sleeping in your car, honey?" Elena's face flushed with shame. "I am not. I mean, I have a place to—" "It is okay." The woman's voice was gentle. "I am not judging. I have been there. 12 years ago, my husband left me for his secretary, cleaned out our accounts, left me with nothing." Elena looked at this woman. She was well dressed, put together, normal. "What did you do?" "I survived." The woman reached into her purse and pulled out a card. "This is a shelter for women in crisis. They have beds, showers, job training. They helped me get back on my feet." Elena took the card. Her hands were shaking. The woman squeezed her arm. "It feels like the end, but it is not. I promise you, honey. It is not the end." Elena did not go to the shelter. She was not ready to admit she needed that kind of help. Not yet. But she kept the card. 1 week later, everything got worse. Elena was parked in a church parking lot, trying to sleep, when her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost did not answer. "Ms. Marshall? This is Detective Rodriguez with the San Francisco Police Department. We need you to come to the station. There has been an allegation." Elena's stomach dropped. "What kind of allegation?" "I would rather discuss this in person, ma'am." Can you come down to the station this morning? At the police station, Elena learned that Daniel had accused her of violating the custody order. He says you approached your daughter at school yesterday, the detective said. That you made threats, said you were going to take the kids and disappear. That is impossible. Elena's voice was shaking. I was not anywhere near the school. I have GPS data on my phone. We checked. Your phone was at the public library. Then how can he say I was at the school? We have a witness, a school administrator named Karen Whitfield. She says she saw you in the parking lot, that you were behaving erratically. Karen Whitfield, Daniel's cousin, a woman who had smiled at Elena at family barbecues, who had brought casseroles when the kids were born, who had looked her in the eye and lied to police. She is lying, Elena's voice broke. She is Daniel's cousin. She is lying to help him. The detective's face was sympathetic, but unmoved. Ma'am, I understand this is difficult, but we have a sworn statement. I have to place you under arrest. The booking process was a blur. Fingerprints, mugshot, the cold metal of handcuffs around her wrists. She was placed in a holding cell with 3 other women. One was sleeping on the bench. One was crying in the corner. One looked at Elena with dead eyes and said nothing. Elena sat on the concrete floor and tried to remember how to breathe. She called Maggie. One phone call. That was all she got. Maggie, it is Elena. I am in jail. Daniel had me arrested. Please, please help me. Maggie's voice was fierce. I am on my way. Do not say anything to anyone. Do you understand me? Not a single word. 8 hours later, Maggie posted bail. In the car, Elena finally broke down completely. She told Maggie everything: the job, the car, the $47, the church parking lots, and the library bathrooms and the granola bars that had become her only meals. Maggie pulled the car over and held her. Why did you not tell me? Why did you not ask for help? Because I was ashamed, Elena sobbed. Because I did not want you to see me like this. Because I thought if I just kept trying, if I just kept fighting, things would get better. They will get better. Maggie's voice was fierce. But not like this. You are coming home with me. Tonight. And we are going to figure this out. Together. But there was one more blow waiting. The next day, Elena called her mother. She had been putting it off. She and Ruth had never been close. Ruth had always favored Daniel, seeing in him the successful, charming man she wished she had married. But Elena was desperate. She needed family. She needed someone to tell her it was going to be okay. Mom, her voice cracked. Mom, I need help. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched for an eternity. Elena, Ruth's voice was cold, flat. I got a call from Daniel yesterday. Mom, whatever he told you, he told me about your arrest. He told me about the drugs. What drugs? I do not do drugs. He said you have been abusing your anxiety medication, that you have been unstable, that the children are not safe with you. Mom, none of that is true. He is lying. He has been lying about everything. He had me arrested on false charges. His own cousin lied to the police for him. Elena, I do not know what to believe anymore. Ruth's voice was heavy with disappointment. All I know is that Daniel has always been good to you. He provided for you. He gave you a beautiful home and 2 beautiful children. And now you are saying terrible things about him. He cheated on me. He married another woman while we were still married. He has been laundering money. See, this is what I mean, Ruth sighed. These wild accusations, this paranoia. Daniel told me you might do this. He said you have been having episodes. Mom. Elena's voice was barely a whisper. Please, I am your daughter, and I love you, but I cannot help you until you get help for yourself. Realty help. Professional help. Until then, I think it is best if we do not talk. The line went dead. Elena stared at her phone. Her mother, her own mother, had chosen Daniel. This is what abusers do. If you are listening to this, if you are trapped in a situation like Elena's, understand this. They do not just hurt you. They isolate you. They turn everyone you love against you. They make you feel so alone that you start to believe their lies. They make you think that you are the problem, that you are crazy, that you are broken beyond repair, that no one will ever believe you. And the worst part? Sometimes they succeed. Sometimes mothers choose the abuser over their own children. Sometimes friends disappear. Sometimes the whole world seems to agree that you are worthless. But here's the truth that Elena would learn. The truth that I need you to hear. Just because everyone believes the lie does not make it true. You know what happened. You know what you lived through. And someday, the truth will come out. It always does. That night, Elena sat in Maggie's apartment and stared at her phone. She had nothing left. Her children, her home, her job, her money, her mother, all gone. She thought about the bottle of sleeping pills in Maggie's bathroom. She thought about how easy it would be to just stop fighting, to stop hurting, to stop. She opened her photos and looked at Sophie and Lucas one more time. Their faces, their smiles. The way Lucas said, "I love you, Mommy," before bed every night. The way Sophie rolled her eyes, but always came back for one more hug. They needed her, even if she could not see them, even if the court said she had no rights. They needed her to keep fighting. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "Mom, I need to show you something. It is important. Can you meet me tomorrow at Maggie's? I took something from Dad's office. It is going to change everything." Elena stared at the message. Then she put down her phone, walked to the bathroom, and flushed the sleeping pills down the toilet. She was not done yet. Sophie arrived at Maggie's apartment the next afternoon. She was wearing her school uniform and carrying a backpack that bulged with something heavy. Her eyes kept darting to the door, to the windows, like she was expecting someone to burst in at any moment. "Mom," she rushed into Elena's arms. "I have been so scared. I did not know if you were okay. Dad said you were in jail. He said you were sick. He said you might never come back." Elena held her daughter tight. "I am here. I am okay. I am not going anywhere." Sophie pulled back and looked at her mother with eyes far too old for 14. "I know what he did, Mom. I know about Jessica. I know about the money. I have been watching him for months." Elena's heart stopped. "Sophie, what are you talking about?" Sophie unzipped her backpack and pulled out a thick folder. "He keeps everything in a safe in his office, a big one hidden behind a painting of Grandfather. I watched him open it 3 times. I memorized the combination. Sophie," Elena's voice was shaking, "if he catches you, he will not." Sophie's jaw was set with a determination that made her look exactly like her mother. "I wait until he is asleep. I photograph everything. Then I put it back exactly where I found it." She spread the contents of the folder across Maggie's dining room table. Elena's hands trembled as she picked up the first document. It was a marriage certificate. Daniel James Marshall and Jessica Lynn Hartwell, married in Lake Tahoe, dated 14 months ago, while Elena was still his wife. Oh my God. Elena's knees buckled. Maggie grabbed her arm to steady her. "He married her. He actually married her. There is more," Sophie said. "A lot more." The second document was incorporation papers for a company called Sunset Holdings, LLC, registered in Nevada. Daniel was listed as the sole director. Maggie leaned in, her legal mind immediately engaged. This is how he has been hiding money. Nevada LLCs have almost no disclosure requirements. The third document made Elena gasp. It was a prenuptial agreement between Daniel and Jessica, signed 11 months before Daniel told Elena he wanted a divorce. One clause stood out. In the event of dissolution of marriage, Daniel Marshall shall retain sole ownership of the property located at 847 Hillcrest Drive, Piedmont, California. Her home, her house. He had promised it to Jessica before he even asked Elena for a divorce. But the most damning evidence was in the fourth stack of papers. Emails, hundreds of them, printed conversations between Daniel and Victoria Sinclair, his attorney, dating back 18 months, long before he claimed Elena's behavior had become problematic, long before any of his justifications made sense. Elena read them with growing horror. From Daniel to Victoria, we need to establish a pattern of instability before I file. What documentation do you need? From Victoria to Daniel, medical records would help, prescriptions, any hospitalizations. We can use her anxiety medication against her. From Daniel to Victoria, she does not drink much. Can we manufacture something? From Victoria to Daniel, not advisable. Stick to the mental health angle. Get her prescribed something stronger if you can. Suggest she see a psychiatrist for her anxiety. Elena remembered. 18 months ago, Daniel had suddenly become concerned about her well-being. He had encouraged her to see a therapist. He had suggested she ask about medication. She had thought he was being supportive. He had been building a case to destroy her. This entire time, she whispered, from the very beginning, it was all planned. Maggie was already photographing every document. Elena, this is not just evidence for a custody case. This is criminal, bigamy, fraud, conspiracy, asset concealment. She looked up, her eyes bright with the fire of a lawyer who has just found the smoking gun. Daniel is not just going to lose custody, he is going to prison. But there was a problem. If we take this to court now, Maggie said slowly, Daniel's team will argue the evidence was illegally obtained. Sophie took it from his safe without permission. They could get everything thrown out, and they could file charges against Sophie for theft. Elena's blood ran cold. No, absolutely not. We are not putting Sophie at risk. Sophie stepped forward. Mom, I knew what I was doing. I knew the risks, and I would do it again. Sophie, no. Listen to me. Sophie's voice was fierce. I am 14 years old. I have watched Dad hurt you for as long as I can remember. The way he talks to you, the way he makes you feel small, the way he takes credit for everything and blames you for everything else. Her eyes filled with tears, but she did not let them fall. You taught me to stand up for people who cannot stand up for themselves. You taught me that bullies only win when good people do nothing. Well, I am not doing nothing. Not anymore. Elena pulled her daughter into her arms and held her while they both cried. We need help, Maggie said quietly. Someone who can investigate this independently. Build a case that does not rely on evidence obtained by a minor. I do not know anyone like that, Elena said. Maggie smiled. Actually, I do. Nathaniel Harrison arrived at Maggie's apartment that evening. He was tall, with silver hair and deep lines around his eyes that spoke of too many sleepless nights. He wore a suit that had probably been expensive once but was now rumpled and worn like its owner. He looked tired. He looked honest. He looked like a man who had seen the worst of humanity and still believed in fighting for something better. Nathaniel was 52 years old, a former federal prosecutor who had spent 20 years putting white-collar criminals behind bars. Now he ran a private investigation firm specializing in complex fraud cases. He was also Maggie's older brother. Elena, Maggie said, this is Nathaniel. He is the most annoyingly ethical person I know, and he has been investigating Daniel's firm for the past 6 months. Elena stared at him. You have been investigating Daniel? Not Daniel specifically. Nathaniel sat down at the dining table, his eyes scanning the documents Sophie had gathered. His investment firm. We have been building a case for the SEC Securities fraud, money laundering, that sort of thing. Your husband is a mid-level player, but he is connected to some very serious criminals. He picked up the marriage certificate and whistled softly. Bigamy. That is a felony. He looked at Sophie with respect. Where did you get all this? My daughter, Elena said. She stole it from his safe. Nathaniel's lips twitched. Smart kid. He turned to Elena, and his eyes were kind. Mrs. Marshall, I know what you have been through. Maggie told me everything. The false arrest, the custody ruling, the isolation. I want you to know that I believe you, and I want to help. Why? Elena asked. You do not know me, because I have spent my entire career watching men like your husband destroy women like you, and I am tired of seeing them win. He spread the documents across the table. Here's what I propose. We use what Sophie found as a roadmap. We investigate independently, building a parallel case that does not rely on this evidence. When the time is right, we hand everything over to the feds. Daniel goes to prison. You get your children back. Justice is served. Elena felt something stir in her chest, something she had not felt in months. Hope. How long? She asked. Honestly, a few months, maybe more. The federal case is almost ready. Once the SEC moves, Daniel's whole house of cards comes down. A few months. Elena thought about Sophie and Lucas, trapped in that house with Daniel and Jessica. A few months is a long time. I know. Nathaniel's voice was gentle, but it is better than rushing and losing everything. We do this right, he never recovers. We do this wrong, he walks free and comes after you even harder. Elena looked at Maggie, at Sophie, at this stranger who was offering to fight for her. She thought about all the people who had failed her. The judge who had ruled against her, the detective who had arrested her, her own mother who had chosen Daniel. And she thought about all the people who had stood by her, Maggie, who had never wavered, Sophie, who had risked everything, and now Nathaniel, a man she had just met who believed her without question. Okay, she said. We do this your way, Nathaniel smiled. It was the first warm thing she had seen in weeks. Good. He stood up and shook her hand. Welcome to the team, Mrs. Marshall. Daniel has no idea what is coming. Over the next 2 months, Elena's life transformed. Not her circumstances. Those were still difficult. She was still staying in Maggie's apartment, still unemployed, still fighting for the right to see her own children. But something inside her had shifted. She had purpose now, a mission, a reason to get up every morning. And she had Nathaniel. Working with him was unlike anything she had experienced. He treated her as an equal from the very first day. When she offered insights about Daniel's financial habits, he listened. When she analyzed architectural blueprints related to one of Daniel's suspicious property purchases, he was impressed. You have a gift for this, he told her one evening, poring over documents at Maggie's dining table. You see patterns other people miss. Elena felt her cheeks warm. I just understand how he thinks. After 15 years, you learn someone's patterns. That is exactly what I need. Nathaniel leaned back in his chair. Forensic accounting is all about patterns. And you know this man better than anyone. Slowly, carefully, they built the case. Nathaniel's team traced the money Daniel had hidden through a maze of shell companies. They documented his connections to organized crime figures in Eastern Europe. They compiled evidence of securities fraud, wire fraud, and tax evasion. And through it all, Elena learned. She learned how to read financial statements, how to trace wire transfers, how to spot the red flags that indicated fraud. She was good at it, better than good. For the first time in 15 years, she felt competent, valuable, smart. Daniel had spent their entire marriage making her feel small, telling her that her degree was worthless, that her interests were boring, that she was lucky he had married her. Now she was using that same brain he had dismissed to help build the case that would destroy him. One night, they were working late. Maggie had gone to bed hours ago. The apartment was quiet except for the rustle of papers and the soft glow of laptop screens. Nathaniel looked up from a financial statement and studied Elena's face. "Can I ask you something personal?" Elena almost smiled. "We have been looking at my ex-husband's criminal activity for 6 weeks. I think we are past personal boundaries. Why did you stay so long?" The question hung in the air. Elena was quiet for a long moment. "Because I thought that was what love looked like," she said finally. "Sacrifice, accommodation, making yourself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. I thought if I just tried harder, if I was just good enough, he would love me the way I needed." She looked down at her hands. But the truth is, nothing was ever going to be good enough, because the problem was not me. The problem was him. He needed someone to control, someone to diminish, someone to make him feel powerful. And I let him do it because I did not know any other way. Nathaniel was quiet. Then he said, "My wife was the same way." Elena looked up. "Maggie mentioned she passed away." "I am sorry." Nathaniel nodded slowly. "Cancer, 5 years ago. But the truth is, we had been separated for 2 years before that. She was difficult, controlling. She had her own damage from her childhood, and she took it out on everyone around her." He rubbed his eyes. "I stayed because I thought I could fix her. Because I thought love meant never giving up. And then one day she was diagnosed, and suddenly none of the fighting mattered anymore. I moved back in. I took care of her until the end." His voice was heavy. "I do not regret that, but I do regret all the years I spent trying to save someone who did not want to be saved. All the years I lost." He looked at Elena, and something passed between them, an understanding. "I guess what I'm trying to say is, I know what it is like to give yourself away piece by piece until there is nothing left. And I know how hard it is to rebuild." Elena felt tears prick her eyes. "But you did rebuild." "I did. And so will you." He smiled and it reached his eyes. "You already are." As the weeks passed, Elena noticed something changing between them. It was not dramatic, not like the movies. There was no sudden kiss, no passionate confession, just small moments. The way Nathaniel brought her coffee in the morning, exactly how she liked it. The way he remembered things she mentioned in passing, tiny details that Daniel had never bothered to learn. The way he looked at her when she solved a problem, with genuine admiration and respect. The way she felt safe with him. Seen, valued, and something else too. Something she had not felt in so long she had almost forgotten what it was. Attraction. She pushed it away at first. She was still technically married, still fighting for her children, still rebuilding from the rubble of her old life. She did not have room for romance, but the feeling persisted, growing quietly, like a seed in dark soil, waiting for the light. Just as everything seemed to be falling into place, Daniel struck again. Elena received a letter from Victoria Sinclair. It was a settlement offer. Full custody returned to Elena, the house signed over to her name, $500,000 in cash. All pending charges dropped. Complete confidentiality agreement. In exchange, Elena would drop all claims against Daniel and agree never to speak publicly about what had happened during their marriage. Maggie read the letter 3 times. "He knows," she said. "He knows we have something. This is a panic move." Elena stared at the numbers. $500,000. Her children back. Her home back. She could end this nightmare tomorrow. Nathaniel shook his head. "Elena, if you take this deal, he walks away clean. He never faces consequences for what he did, and he does it again to someone else. Is that what you want? I want my children safe." Elena's voice cracked. "That is all I have ever wanted." Nathaniel sat down next to her. He did not touch her, but his presence was warm and steady. I understand. But think about Sophie. Think about what she risked to get those documents. She did that because she believes in justice. Because you taught her to believe in justice. What message do you send if you take the money and let him win? Elena closed her eyes. She thought about Sophie's face when she handed over that folder. The fierce determination. The absolute conviction that right would prevail. She thought about Lucas wetting the bed from stress, crying for his mother. She thought about all the women Daniel would hurt if he was allowed to walk free. No deal, she said. We take him down, all the way. It was a trap. Daniel had anticipated her refusal. The settlement offer was never real. When Elena called to negotiate, Daniel recorded the conversation. Later, his team edited the recording to make it sound like she was blackmailing him. 2 days later, Elena was arrested again. This time, the charge was extortion. Bail was set at $100,000. She sat in jail for 3 days. Those 3 days changed her. She was placed in a holding cell with 12 other women. Some were there for drugs, some for theft, some for assault, and some, like her, were there because the system had failed them. A woman named Dawn Fitzgerald sat next to her on the second night. Dawn was 45 years old, with gray streaks in her dark hair and scars on her arms that told their own story. She was serving time for assault, for nearly killing the husband who had beaten her for 15 years. First time? Dawn asked. Elena nodded. She could not find words. Let me guess. Dawn's voice was knowing. Husband, divorce. He has money and connections. You have nothing but the truth. Elena's eyes filled with tears. How did you know? Because I see it every day in here. Women like us. Women who tried to play by the rules. Women who believed the system would protect them. Dawn shook her head. The system does not protect women like us. The system protects men like them. Money, power, connections. That is what the system understands. Not truth, not justice, not the bruises on our bodies or the scars on our souls. So what do we do? Elena whispered. Dawn looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. We survive, we fight, we protect each other, and we wait for our moment. She put her hand on Elena's arm. Your moment will come, honey. I can see it in your eyes. You are not done yet, not by a long shot. When Nathaniel finally got her released, Elena walked out of jail a different woman. The fear was still there, the pain, the uncertainty, but underneath all of it, something new was growing. Rage. Not the hot, destructive rage that burns everything in its path. Something colder, harder, more patient. The kind of rage that builds empires. The kind of rage that destroys men who think they are untouchable. I am done being afraid, she told Nathaniel as they drove away from the jail. I am done being a victim. Daniel wants a war. I will give him a war. Nathaniel glanced at her. His eyes were warm with something that looked like pride. Good, he said, because the SEC just accelerated their timeline. They are moving on Daniel's firm in 2 weeks, and when they do, everything changes. The extortion arrest had complicated everything. Daniel used it to file an emergency motion to terminate Elena's visitation rights entirely. The judge granted it. No more supervised visits, no more phone calls, no more contact of any kind. Elena was completely cut off from her children. She sat in Maggie's apartment, staring at a photo of Sophie and Lucas, and felt something inside her crack. I cannot do this anymore, she whispered. Every time I get close to winning, he takes more from me. I have nothing left. He has taken everything. That is not true. Maggie sat next to her, eyes red from crying. You have us. You have me and Nathaniel and the truth. We just need more time. How much more time? Elena's voice rose, cracking with despair. A year? 2 years? Sophie will be in college. Lucas will not remember me. I am losing them, Maggie. I am losing them in slow motion, and I cannot stop it. She buried her face in her hands and sobbed. Maggie held her and had no words of comfort to offer. Because the truth was, Elena was right. The system was failing her. The courts were failing her. Every institution designed to protect mothers and children was instead being weaponized against her. And Daniel was winning. That night, alone in Maggie's guest room, Elena made a decision. She would give herself one more month, 30 days. If the federal case came through, if Daniel was arrested, if there was any hope at all of getting her children back, she would keep fighting. But if nothing changed, if she was still trapped in this nightmare, with no end in sight, she would take matters into her own hands. She did not know what that meant exactly. Running? Hiding? Something worse? She pushed the thought away. 30 days. She would give it 30 days. 2 weeks later, Nathaniel arrived at Maggie's apartment with news. The SEC is moving tomorrow, he said. His firm is finished. The feds are arresting everyone, including Daniel. Elena felt her heart stop. Tomorrow morning, 9:15. They are going to take him right out of his office. She sat down heavily. What about the custody case? Nathaniel sat next to her. His hand found hers. Once he is arrested, everything changes. His credibility is destroyed. The judge will have to reconsider. And with the bigamy charge, the fraud, the conspiracy. Elena, he is going to prison. For a very long time. Elena looked at him. His hand was warm around hers, steady, strong. Why did you help me? She asked. You did not have to. You had your own case, your own work. Why did you care? Nathaniel was quiet for a moment. Because I have spent my entire career watching people like Daniel get away with it, he said finally. Rich, powerful men who treat other people like objects, who lie and cheat and steal and somehow convince the world they are the victims. His jaw tightened. And I have watched good people get destroyed, women who did nothing wrong except fall in love with the wrong man, children who grow up believing that abuse is normal, families shattered because the system protects predators instead of prey. He looked at Elena, and his eyes were fierce. I helped you because you deserved help, because your children deserve their mother, because for once in my career, I wanted to see the good guys win. Elena felt tears streaming down her face. I do not know how to thank you. Nathaniel squeezed her hand. Win, he said. That is all the thanks I need. They sat together in the quiet apartment, hands intertwined, waiting for morning. At 9:15 on a Tuesday morning, federal agents walked into the offices of Marshall and Associates Investment Group. Daniel Marshall was in a meeting with 3 clients when they arrived. The agents did not knock. They did not wait. They walked in, badges displayed, and informed Daniel that he was under arrest. The charges were read aloud in front of his colleagues. Securities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, bigamy, obstruction of justice. Daniel's face went white, then red, then a mottled purple. This is a mistake, he sputtered. My lawyers will have me out in an hour. The lead agent smiled thinly. Your lawyer, Victoria Sinclair, was arrested 45 minutes ago. Conspiracy to commit fraud, obstruction of justice, witness tampering. Daniel's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. And your wife, Jessica Hartwell Marshall? The agent's smile widened. She was very cooperative once we explained the charges she was facing. She is currently providing a detailed statement about your financial activities. Daniel's legs gave out. 2 agents had to hold him up. You have the right to remain silent, the lead agent said. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. They led him out of the building in handcuffs. Someone on the street was filming on their phone. By noon, the video had gone viral. Elena watched the footage from Maggie's apartment. She watched her ex-husband, the man who had tried to destroy her, being led away in handcuffs. She watched his face, that arrogant, confident face she had once loved, crumple into something unrecognizable. She waited to feel triumphant. Instead, she felt empty. "How do you feel?" Maggie asked. Elena thought about it for a long moment. "Tired," she said finally. "I thought I would feel victorious. I just feel tired. That is normal." Maggie put her arm around her. "Vindication is not as sweet as we imagine. But it is not about the feeling. It is about what happens next." What happened next was the complete collapse of Daniel's case. The judge who had granted him custody suddenly discovered a scheduling conflict that required him to recuse himself. His replacement, a woman named Judge Patricia Reynolds, took one look at the evidence and reversed every ruling. Full custody to Elena. The house returned to her name. All charges against her dropped. Child support and alimony payments mandated. Elena walked into the courthouse as a woman accused of instability and extortion. She walked out as a mother who had been vindicated. Sophie and Lucas were waiting outside. They ran to her. She caught them both, one in each arm, and held them so tight she thought her heart would burst. "I knew you would come back," Lucas said, his face buried in her shoulder. "I knew it, Mommy," I told Sophie. "I said Mommy always keeps her promises." Elena could not speak. She just held them and cried. Sophie looked up at her with those fierce, knowing eyes. "We did it, Mom," she said. "We won." Elena stroked her daughter's hair. "No, sweetheart. You did it. You saved us. You and Maggie and Nathaniel." Sophie shook her head. "You never gave up. That is what saved us." They stood on the courthouse steps, the three of them together again, and for the first time in almost a year, Elena felt like she could breathe. 2 months after Daniel's arrest, Nathaniel asked Elena to dinner. "I know you have been through hell," he said. They were standing in the kitchen of her house, the house she had finally moved back into, surrounded by boxes that still needed unpacking. "And I know the last thing you probably want is another complicated relationship." Elena's heart beat faster. "Nathaniel, let me finish." He took her hands. "I have been in love with you for 3 months, and I am tired of pretending I am not. I know the timing is terrible. I know you need space to heal, but I also know that life is short, and love is rare, and when you find something real, you should be honest about it." He looked into her eyes. "Will you have dinner with me? A real dinner. Not a strategy session, not a case review, just two people getting to know each other." Elena smiled. It was the first real smile she had worn in longer than she could remember. "Yes," she said. "I would like that." The restaurant was upscale, but not ostentatious. White tablecloths, candles flickering in crystal holders, a view of the San Francisco Bay at sunset. Elena wore a black dress she had found at a consignment shop. Simple, elegant, nothing like the expensive designer clothes Daniel used to buy her, the ones that always felt like costumes. This dress felt like her. Nathaniel was waiting at the table. He stood when she approached, and the way he looked at her made her feel beautiful in a way Daniel's compliments never had. "You look incredible," he said. "Thank you." Elena sat down, suddenly nervous. "I have to admit, I have not done this in a very long time." "Me neither," Nathaniel smiled. "We can be rusty together." They talked. Not about the case, not about Daniel, not about any of the darkness that had brought them together. They talked about books, about movies, about childhood memories and dreams for the future, about the small, ordinary things that make up a life. For the first time in years, Elena felt like herself. Not a wife, not a mother, not a victim, just Elena. Elena. A woman with thoughts and opinions and hopes and fears. A woman worth knowing. I need to tell you something, Nathaniel said as dessert arrived. Something I probably should have mentioned before. Elena raised an eyebrow. That sounds ominous. My grandfather started a tech company in the 80s. He sold it in 95 for a lot of money. When he died, he left everything to me. Elena frowned. I do not understand. You drive a Volvo. You wear rumpled suits. Because money changes how people treat you. Nathaniel shrugged. I did not want to be that guy, the rich guy. I wanted to do work that mattered. I wanted people to see me, not my bank account. So, how much is a lot of money? Nathaniel hesitated. Enough that you and your children will never have to worry about anything ever again. Elena stared at him. Nathaniel reached across the table and took her hand. I am not telling you this to impress you. I am telling you because I want to be honest. No secrets. No hidden agendas. Just two people who have been through hell, trying to build something real. He took a deep breath. I love you, Elena. I love your strength. I love your mind. I love the way you look at your children. I love that you never gave up, even when everyone told you to. His voice was steady, certain. I want to build a future with you. I want to invest in your architecture firm. I want to help you create something amazing, not because I feel sorry for you, because I believe in you. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Nathaniel, I do not know what to say. Say yes? He pulled out a small velvet box. Elena's breath caught. I know this is fast. I know you need time. But I also know that I have never been more certain of anything in my life. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Vintage. Elegant. A brilliant diamond surrounded by smaller sapphires. It looked like something from another era. Something with history. Something built to last. Elena Marshall, Nathaniel said, will you marry me? And then, because the universe has a sense of timing, Daniel Marshall walked into the restaurant. He was out on bail, awaiting trial. He looked diminished, thinner, older. The arrogance was still there, but it was brittle now, like a shell over something hollow. He was with a woman, young, blonde, clearly unaware of who she was with. He saw Elena at the exact moment she looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded restaurant. Daniel's face went white. He saw Nathaniel. He saw the ring box. He saw his ex-wife, the woman he had tried to destroy, sitting in a beautiful dress, looking more radiant than she ever had during their marriage, being proposed to by another man. Elena turned back to Nathaniel. Yes, she said. Yes, I will marry you. Nathaniel slipped the ring onto her finger. His smile was brighter than the candles. They kissed. And when Elena looked up again, Daniel was standing at their table. His face was contorted with rage. His hands were shaking. You think you have won? His voice was a hiss. You think this is over? Elena looked at the man she had once loved, the man who had tried to erase her from existence. She felt nothing. No fear, no anger, no satisfaction. Just a vast, peaceful emptiness. It has been over for a long time, Daniel, she said. I am just finally letting you see it. You destroyed me. You turned my own daughter against me. You took everything from me. No. Elena shook her head. You did that yourself. I just stopped covering for you. She stood up. Nathaniel stood with her. Goodbye, Daniel. I hope you find peace someday. I genuinely do. She paused. Because I already have. They walked out of the restaurant together, leaving Daniel standing alone among the staring diners. Elena did not look back. The wedding was 3 weeks later. Small, intimate, on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. There were no society photographers, no gossip columnists, no spectacle. Just 40 people who loved Elena and Nathaniel gathered to witness their commitment. Sophie was the maid of honor. She wore a soft blue dress and carried wildflowers from the garden Elena had planted in her newly reclaimed home. Lucas walked his mother down the aisle. He was 10 years old now, standing straight and proud, trying so hard to be the man of the family. Maggie stood at Nathaniel's side as his best woman. "I am not a man," she had said when he asked, "but I am definitely the best." The officiant was a retired judge that Nathaniel had known for 30 years, a woman who had dedicated her career to family law, to protecting women and children. She looked at the small gathering with tears in her eyes. "We are here today to celebrate something remarkable," she began. "Not just a marriage, but a triumph." She looked at Elena. Elena Marshall has walked through fire this past year. She has been betrayed, abandoned, arrested, stripped of her children, stripped of her home, stripped of everything she thought defined her, and she survived, more than survived. She fought, she refused to give up. She held on to hope, when hope seemed impossible. The judge smiled, and standing next to her is a man who saw her when she was at her lowest and believed in her anyway, who fought beside her, who loved her not in spite of her struggles, but because of the strength they revealed. She looked at Nathaniel. This is what love should be. Not possession, not control, not diminishment, but partnership, support. Two people who make each other stronger. They exchanged vows. Elena spoke first. "I spent most of my life believing I was not enough," she said, "that I needed to be smaller, quieter, less myself to deserve love. You showed me that was a lie," her voice trembled. "You love me more when I am more myself. You celebrate my strength instead of feeling threatened by it. You see me as a partner, not a project." She looked at Nathaniel through her tears. "For that, I will spend the rest of my life trying to give you the same gift. I love you, Nathaniel Harrison. Today, tomorrow, and every day, we are lucky enough to share." Nathaniel's eyes were bright. "I spent years afraid to love again," he said. "Afraid of loss, afraid of hoping, afraid of opening my heart to someone who might break it." He took Elena's hands. "You taught me that courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to love anyway, choosing to hope anyway, choosing to build something beautiful, even when the world is trying to tear you down." His voice strengthened. "I choose you, Elena, your strength, your grace, your fierce protective love for your children, your refusal to give up, your ability to find light in the darkest places." He squeezed her hands. "I choose all of you, the broken pieces and the rebuilt parts, the scars and the strength. Today, tomorrow, and every day we are lucky enough to have." They exchanged rings, simple gold bands, no diamonds, no ostentation, just circles, endless, unbroken. As they kissed, the sun broke through the clouds and bathed the clifftop in golden light. The guests cheered. Sophie cried. Lucas tugged at Elena's dress. "Mom? Mom? Can I call him Dad now?" Elena laughed through her tears. She looked at Nathaniel. "What do you think?" Nathaniel knelt down to Lucas's level. "I would be honored, buddy, but only if you want to." Lucas threw his arms around Nathaniel's neck. "I want to, Dad." Elena watched them embrace, her son and her new husband, and felt her heart overflow with a joy she had thought she would never feel again. This was her family, rebuilt from the ashes, stronger than before. The reception was simple: good food, good wine, dancing under string lights as the sun set over the ocean. At one point, Sophie found Elena standing at the edge of the cliff, looking out at the water. "Mom, are you okay?" Elena smiled. "I was just thinking." "About what?" "About how a year ago I was sleeping in my car. I had nothing, no money, no home, no hope." She put her arm around her daughter. "And now look at us. We have everything that matters." Sophie leaned into her mother. "I am proud of you, Mom. I know that sounds weird coming from a kid, but I am. You are the strongest person I know." Elena kissed her daughter's head. "I am only strong because I had you to fight for. You and Lucas. You are my reason for everything." They stood together, mother and daughter, watching the last rays of sunlight paint the clouds in shades of pink and gold. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you will ever know." 2 years later, Elena stood in the living room of a house she had designed herself. It was a Victorian restoration in Marin County. Original windows that she had salvaged and restored. Crown moldings she had recreated by hand. A wraparound porch that looked out over rolling hills and in the distance the glittering waters of San Francisco Bay. Her firm, Marshall Restoration, had designed and built it from the ground up. The firm employed 14 people now. Architects, designers, craftspeople who shared her passion for bringing old buildings back to life. 2 of those employees were women she had met in jail. Dawn Fitzgerald, who had served her time and emerged with a fierce determination to help other survivors, and Maria Santos, who had lost everything in a divorce much like Elena's and was now rebuilding her life one day at a time. Elena believed in second chances. She believed that broken things could be made whole. She believed it because she had lived it. Sophie was 16 now, applying to colleges, dreaming of law school. She wanted to be an advocate for women in family court. She wanted to change the system from the inside. Lucas was 12, thriving in therapy, learning that not all men were like his father. He had started calling Nathaniel Dad the day of the wedding, and never stopped. The foundation Nathaniel had established for survivors of domestic abuse was helping hundreds of women every year. Elena sat on the board. She spoke at fundraisers. She told her story to anyone who would listen. Because stories mattered. Because somewhere out there, a woman was sleeping in her car with $47 to her name, wondering if things would ever get better. And Elena wanted that woman to know. They would. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows as Nathaniel came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything," Elena said. "All of it. The worst year of my life, and how it led to the best. Any regrets? Only that I did not leave sooner." She leaned back against him, "But I am working on forgiving myself for that." They stood together in the house they had built, looking out at the view that still took her breath away. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. "Unknown number." She answered. A recorded voice. "Mrs. Harrison? This is a collect call from San Quentin State Prison. You have a call from inmate Daniel Marshall. Do you accept the charges?" Elena was quiet for a moment. She thought about Daniel, sitting in prison, facing 15 more years behind bars, knowing that his ex-wife had rebuilt her life into something more beautiful than he could have imagined. She thought about the man she had once loved, the man who had tried to destroy her. She felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no curiosity about what he might say. Just peace. "No," she said clearly. "I do not accept." She hung up. She would never look back. If you are listening to this story, if you have heard Elena's journey from destruction to redemption, I want to leave you with this. Your story is not over. I do not care how dark things seem right now. I do not care how many people have failed you. I do not care how impossible escape seems. There is another chapter waiting to be written. Elena Marshall slept in her car with $47 to her name. She was arrested on false charges. She was cut off from her children. Her own mother chose her abuser over her, and she survived. More than survived. She thrived. Not because she was special, not because she was lucky, but because she refused to give up, because she found people who believed in her, because she took it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, one breath at a time, until the darkness finally lifted. You can do the same. It will not be easy. It will not be quick. There will be days when you want to give up, when the mountain seems too high to climb, when the voices telling you that you are worthless seem louder than the truth. Do not listen to those voices. They are lying. You are strong. You are worthy. You are capable of building a life more beautiful than you can imagine. I know because Elena did it. And if she can do it, so can you. Here's what Elena would tell you if she could. Document everything, every text, every email, every inconsistency in your partner's story. You may never need it, but if you do, you will be grateful you have it. Find your people, the ones who believe you without question, the ones who will answer the phone at 3 in the morning. They exist. Do not stop looking until you find them. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Your gut knows things your mind is not ready to accept. Take it one day at a time. Rebuilding a life is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Some days you will take giant leaps forward. Some days you will barely manage to get out of bed. Both kinds of days count. Know that your children are watching. They see more than you think. They understand more than you know. They need you to show them that survival is possible, that darkness does not win, that love can be healthy and respectful and true. And finally, remember this. The person who tried to break you, they failed. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still fighting. And that makes you more powerful than they will ever be. Elena Marshall Harrison woke up every morning in a house filled with light. She kissed her husband. She hugged her children. She went to work at a job she loved, surrounded by people who respected her. She had lost everything. And in losing everything, she had found herself. That is not a tragedy. That is a triumph. And your triumph is coming too. I promise.